Allusion is a brief and indirect reference to people, place, thing, or idea of historical, literary, cultural, or political significance. It does not describe in detail the place or people in which it referred to. It was just a passing comment, and the writers expect the reader to possess enough knowledge to spot the allusion and grasp its significant meaning in a text. Next, we will talk about the importance of allusions. Allusions is one of the aspects mainly studied in literary works. Many words used in modern society are retrieved from the past literatures, and they are widely used and applied in many fields. In astrology, many literary works play crucial roles in the names, especially Greek mythology. Astrology has been important and affect people's thought and their ways of life from the past and also in the modern. So our group trying to analyze and find the examples of allusions in both Greek mythology and astrology. So we will talk about the example we found from the analysis.
Alice is referred to golden lamp in the story of the king Artemis in Obysia and Nephili, who was a nymph made from a cow in image Hela. They had children of them named Pisces and Hele. After that, the king Artemis was tired of Nephili and remarried with Ino. Ino also had 2 children and felt terribly jealous of her stepchildren. She took the king Artemis to sacrifice her stepchildren. But Hercules sent golden lamp to save them before sacrificing. Alice is sun sign, and the sign shows leadership and assertiveness through golden lamp.
Okay, next. Now we are going to talk about Taurus. Taurus is a constellation which is related to Greek mythology. According to the story of Europa, the princess of Phoenicia, Zeus was passionate her at first sight, so he transformed himself into the white bull at the Phoenician waterside to entice her. And Europa swallowed the bait. She was seduced by the beauty of the white bull. She walked over to pet it and climbed up on his back. And then the bull jumped into the water and carried her across the sea. And the area that she crossed has become a continent in Europe. Okay, next. And after that, Zeus and Europa lived in Crete and had 3 sons named Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Sarpedon. So finally, Zeus had to return to the mountain of Olympus, so he created the constellation Taurus to remind Europa of himself when looking up at the sky. According to astrology, Taurus is an earth sign, and the traits of those who born under the sign of Taurus include practicality and stubbornness. And because of Taurus is a constellation of May, the sun will appear in the constellation Taurus from mid-May to mid-June. So you can see this group of stars at this time, but you can see it clearly from December to January.
Now, let's talk about Gemini. Gemini is the twins, Castor and Pallas, born to Leda after her seduction by Zeus. Castor was mortal, but Pallas was immortal. In the Greek mythology, Castor was a famous horse tamer and Pallas was a super boxer. When Castor was killed during a battle, Pallas gave up his own life to be with his brother. Zeus rewarded their love by placing their images among the stars, where they shine side by side. The two lines of stars make up this constellation, and two bright stars at the top of each line represent Castor and Pallas' heads. According to astrology, Gemini is an aside, and Gemini people are energetic, careful, imaginative, and adaptable.
Cancer. Cancer was a creature sent by Hera to destroy Hercules, one of Zeus' illegitimate children whom Hera hated the most. This the giant crab lashed onto Hercules' foot as he batting the Hydra. Before finishing off the Hydra, he crushed it. As a reward for the crab, Hera placed this image among the stars. Cancer was a water sign and one of 4 cardinal signs. The Cancer's reflects obedience and sacrifice.
And then Leo. Leo had to do with the labors of Hercules. In his first task, he was sent to kill the Nemean lion. This lion was savage and fierce as it couldn't be harmed by weapons. After attempting to kill the lion with arrows, which just bounced right off, Hercules wrestled the lion and strangled it to death. After the lion was dead, he skinned it with its own claw and made some wonderful armor from the pelt and jaw. The constellation Leo is said to honor the bravery of battle between the Nemean lion and Hercules. According to astrology, Leo is a fire sign and is considered a masculine and extroverted sign.
Okay, next we will talk about Virgo. In Greek mythology, Virgo originates from Astrea, the goddess of innocence and purity. She expects to make this world full of peace, but it contrasts. According to the creation myth, Zeus sent Pandora down to the earth as a punishment to men, and because of her curiosity, she opened the box which the gods had warned her not to and let the plagues of hate, envy, sickness, and many more of bad things out into the world. So finally, Astrea couldn't bear the world that was full of cruel. She became the constellation of Virgo. From this reason, when the golden age comes again, Astrea will return to the earth. According to astrology, Virgo is an earth sign and Virgo people are typically analytical, kind, hardworking, and practical. And because of Virgo is a constellation of September, the sun will appear in constellation Virgo from mid-September to late October. So you can see this constellation at this time. However, you can see it clearly in May.
And next, Riba. Riba represents balance, justice, harmony, and equilibrium. In the Greek mythology, the goddess of justice is Themis. She is usually seen as a woman who is blindfolded, holding the scale in her hands. She is the mother of Astrea. The constellation of Virgo and Riba shine side by side on the celestial sky. She is also said to return with her daughter when the golden age comes again. According to the astrology, Riba is one of the three zodiac signs, and Riba people are social beings, and their happiness is based within relationships.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about the Scorpio constellation. From Greek mythology, Scorpio comes from the story of Orion. Orion was the large and attractive hunter who had much and great power and strength. One day, he said that he would kill every animal in the world. This caused Artemis and her mother created a scorpion to kill him, and yes, the scorpion was success in killing him. After that, Zeus put this scorpion into the heaven, into the sky to be the constellations, and you can see that the sign of this zodiac of the Scorpio zodiac or the Scorpio constellations is Scorpion, because the Scorpion play crucial roles in the story of the constellations. And according to astrology, Scorpio is a water element, and the trait of this element is determination and loyalty. And the sun transits this Scorpio sign on average from mid-October to mid-November, so anyone who is born during this time will be under Scorpio sign. But however, I have to point out that someone may have heard that Scorpio zodiac stars form about mid-November to mid-December. This time is when the sun passes the Scorpio constellation, not Scorpio sign, but both are fine, both are okay for this zodiac, depending on which astrologer use. Okay, it's time for Sagittarius constellation. This is from the Greek myth of centaur named Charon. In the battle, Charon had run into where his enemies were attacking Hercules and Pallas. Hercules was defending Pallas from the enemies by shooting poisoned arrows at them, but he did not know that Charon was there. Hercules shot one of his poisoned arrows at him by mistake and hit him. However, Charon was immortal. Charon didn't die, but he had to live with his great pain forever. Zeus saw this and helped him and ended his great pain by allowing him to die. After that, Zeus placed him among the stars in the heavens as a reward of his noble character. According to astrology, Sagittarius is a fire element seeking for independence, excitement, and truth. And you can see that The Archer is the sign of this constellation and this zodiac. This is because the Chiron was an archer, so we use the archer to be the sign of this constellation. And moreover, in addition, the Sun transits this Sagittarius sign on average from mid-November to mid-December. So anyone who is born during this time will be under this Sagittarius sign.
Capricorn. Capricorn is usually described as a god and a sea god. In Greek mythology, Capricorn is related to the pan god who was a ruler of forests, woodlands, forests, and shepherds. His appearances are as same as a ghost. From a waist down, he was a ghost, and from a waist up, he was a human, except he had ears and horns of goats. Capricorn is also related to the god nymph named Amantian, who was a nursemaid of Zeus as an infant. Amantian was placed among the stars as the Capricorn constellation by Zeus when she passed away. Capricorn is an earth sign and reflects responsibility, patience, ambitious, and loyal.
Aquarius. Aquarius is an allusion used to represent people who born between January 20 and February 18. Aquarius is the water bearer come from the story of Deucalion flood. It is a story about Zeus who poured the water from the heaven onto the earth to wash away and destroy all of the evil and wicked men. This brought forth a new beginning for Deucalion and his wife Para, who threw the stone over their shoulder to create the new race of men and women. Aquarius is a cupbearer of the Olympus who characterized by cleverness, humanism, and originality.
Okay, now we are at the last zodiac constellation, which is Pisces. Pisces is the fish. In Greek mythology, these two fish were Aphrodite and Eros. They were walking along the Euphrates River while typhoon appeared. They were scared and unable to run, so they called up on Zeus for help. He turned them into two fish, and they jumped in the river and escaped. Athena placed the fish among the stars and they became the constellation of Pisces. The sign of this constellation is fish. This is because the main characters of the story of the constellation are fish, so we used fish to be the sign. According to astrology, Pisces is a water element, and people who were born under this element are compassionate, adaptable, devoted, and imaginative. And moreover, the Sun transits this Pisces sign on average from mid-February to mid-March, so anyone who is born during this time will be under Pisces sign. And now you may see that astrology has many allusions from the Greek myth. It uses the events or the characters in the myth to be the signs. Moreover, if you see the star map, you will recognize that it has many lines to connect those stars to make the picture in the myth. For example, the picture of Scorpion in the Scorpio and the twins in Gemini. Also, the zodiac is one of the results from those constellations. We use the time when the sun passes the zodiac constellations to define the zodiac of people. Well, now I think we will we should move to the other constellations.
Next, we will talk about the another example of allusion in astrology, the swan and the Cygnus constellations. It happened when Zeus wanted to seduce the goddess Nemesis, so he transformed himself as a swan and bade Aphrodite in the guise of eagle pursue him into her lap. As a memorial of this successful rouse, he placed an eagle and swan in the sky as the constellation Cygnus and Aquila.
Ophiuchus is the serpent bearer, said to represent a man in the coils of a snake. In the Greek mythology, that man is Asclepius or Asclepius, who is the great physician, a son of Apollo. When Asclepius dared to extend his curse by bringing back man from the dead, Zeus struck him dead with a thunderbolt. As memorial, he was placed amongst the stars with the serpent which coiled around his staff. Later, his staff became a medical symbol called the Rod of Asclepius. According to astrology, Ophiuchus is the 30th constellation of zodiac because it is inserted between the constellation of Scorpius and Sagittarius. However, is not officially accepted.
Okay, now we are at Andromeda constellation. Andromeda was a princess in Greek mythology. She was the daughter of King Cepheus and the Queen Cassiopeia who ruled over Ethiopia. Her mother boasted that Andromeda was more beautiful than the companions of Poseidon and more than Nereus, who was the daughter of Nereus and Doris. This made Poseidon decide to send a sea monster named Cetus to revenge. After consulting an oracle, the king and the queen chained Andromeda to a rock in order to be sacrificed to the monster. However, Perseus was nearby and heard this. When the monster emerged from the sea, he managed to kill it. Thus, Andromeda was saved. Perseus married her and she followed him on his journey back to Greece. After her death, the goddess Athena placed her on the sky as a constellation nearby her beloved husband Perseus and her mother Cassiopeia. And from the left picture, you will see that the Perseus constellation and Cassiopeia constellation are near Andromeda constellation. I think ancient people were very imaginative because they can imagine the stars to be those in myth. I think I can do it.
Perseus was one of the celebrated heroes in Greek mythology. Perseus was the son of Zeus and Princess Danae, who was daughter of King Achilles. Prince Danae was locked away in a born chamber by his father because King Achilles, scared of nephew, who will be child of Princess Dane, will kill him if his nephew grows up. Finally, King Achilles was killed accidentally by Perseus, and Perseus helped to protect Princess Andromeda from the sea monster. According to Perseus' life is lived Beverly.
Okay, next, now we are going to talk about the constellation of Pegasus or winged horse, the son of the Gorgon Medusa. It was tamed by the hero named Bellerophon, who rode it into battle against the three-headed monster named Chimera. When Bellerophon later tried to fly to heaven, he was thrown back down to earth and died. But Pegasus continued towards the peak, where it became the servant of the gods. It was ridden by Apollo to bring the sun, and served Zeus by bringing to him the thunder and lightning needed for the thunderbolts. For all his noble service, Pegasus was honored by a constellation in the autumn sky. And the best visible time to see this constellation is at 9 p.m. during the month of October. Okay, and the last one is a conclusion. In conclusion, astrology is one of the fields that literary works of Greek mythologies have affected. Ancient people applied those works to study groups of stars and create the zodiac. They used the names occurring in the words to set the names of those objects on the sky. That is, Greek mythologies can explain ancient people's belief in the star. Every name has its origins and backgrounds. So, to study the allusion of Greek mythologies is to know and understand the meanings of astrology. And this is all of our presentation. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.